What makes a bad movie good? Is it a secret formula, like Coca-Cola or Subway tuna? Or is it just luck? I should know a thing or two about luck. I once found $100 bill in the middle of the road. My cousin died the same day, but I don't think those two things are related.
What the?
What the?
What the?
What the fuck?
What the?
Hello and welcome to What the Film. I'm your host Nathaniel. Let's get into it. If you're watching this, you probably like movies. And if you like movies like I do, there's a good chance that you like both objectively good and objectively bad movies. But have you ever noticed how some bad movies are good?
Didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
And some bad movies are, well, bad? Did you ever wonder why that is? Now, before I get too deep into this, I understand the concept of good and bad movies. It's all very subjective. So I'm going to try and keep this as somewhat objective as possible by using metrics like unintentional humor or cult classic status or fandoms, etc., stuff like that. This isn't just based on the opinions of some young YouTuber. Young? Really? Well, to be fair, I am only years old. Let's get back to it. But why are some bad movies so good?
QRSTUVWXYZ.
And others so bad?
I don't want you to hurt anymore. No. He's a fighter.
Just like you.
Is it the earnestness with which the film is made? Is it some singular reason, like a crazy character or bizarre marketing? Is it a perfect storm of events, from writing to filming to the aftermath? Or is it something else entirely?
Family.
The sad reality of most good bad movies is that the filmmaker put their whole heart into it. Now, why is that sad if we end up enjoying the movie in some way? Well, the problem is that we end up ironically enjoying something that they made unironically. The common parlance is to use the word ironic, but I think a more accurate description is that we just end up enjoying something that was unintentionally funny or quirky about the movie. And it's precisely that lack of intention that makes the difference between something being funny and enjoyable or just completely off-putting. It's the difference between nervous, uncontrollable laughter at a funeral versus intentionally laughing at the deceased. It's cute and funny to hear a story about someone unintentionally saying "I love you" at the end of a conversation to a coworker. A serious story about someone intentionally saying "I love you" to a coworker usually ends up involving several calls to HR, lawyers, there's sensitivity training. It's a whole thing. And you know what? I was honestly mostly joking anyway, Susan, but apply this concept of intention and lack of intention to making a movie. If a filmmaker willfully ignores source material, almost as if intentionally trying to make a bad movie, the end result is something very distasteful. The same can be said for leaning into the joke after the fact. This would be your Sharknado sequels or your Piranha 3D type sequels. Intentionally making something bad and having it come out good is a crazy balancing act and is very, very hard to pull off. Your best bet is to just try. Because in the end, if you try, you might try and make something good. Or you might try and make something bad, but at least we might end up enjoying that bad thing. Ironically. Sometimes all it takes is one thing. Maybe it's a standout character.
Schrei ich oder schrei ich nicht? Und du sagst es mir nicht, aber schrei aber nicht. Leg mich doch am
Or weird costuming decision. Or maybe it's a word or phrase that people just can't stop repeating for the life of them.
The beekeeper.
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 Beekeeper?
Beekeeper.
A beekeeper, beekeeper? Beekeepers.
Beekeepers.
Beekeeper. Beekeepers.
Beekeepers.
Beekeeper. Beekeepers.
Beekeeper.
Beekeeper.
Beekeepers. Beekeeper.
It's as good a reason as any to like something. People laud great movies for singular reasons, including everything from music and costuming to the script and a lead actor's performance. Sadly, when it comes to bad movies, they don't even have one thing to cling to for enjoyment. The script is bad. The actors are phoning in their performance. The editing is just insane. But why one thing? What is it about one thing? Well, I think marketing plays a big part. I think marketing programs us to focus on one aspect of something so that it stands out and it's memorable. It's like a catchy brand name like Crest, or a memorable catchphrase like Quicker Picker Upper, or an annoyingly sticky jingle like ba-da-ba-ba-ba, now I want a Happy Meal. As unhealthy as it sounds, I think our brains are just programmed to latch onto one thing. And sometimes one thing is enough to elevate a bad movie into good bad. And sometimes the one thing isn't enough to save a whole movie, but you end up getting more of that thing in what ends up being arguably the best parts of a series that no one really even expected that much from in the first place.
Hi.
It's amazing how powerful and compelling one interesting thing can be. And it's even more amazing how many bad movies don't even have that. If it's not one thing saving the day, maybe it's all the things. One of the greatest kindnesses that we can extend a filmmaker as the audience is understanding just how hard it is to make a movie. Like writing? Have you ever written something just staring at a blank screen? That way madness lies. Or filming? Like coordinating schedules? Do you remember the last time you tried to coordinate a group hang and you gave up after 5 text exchanges in the group chat? Now imagine all your friends are former theater kids. You're starting to get an idea of how impossible a task making a movie is. And it's hard to just make a movie, let alone a good or great one. So how does this tie into good bad movies versus bad movies and the differences between the two? This is a good question. I think it speaks to how the line between the two is razor thin and just very blurry and constantly moving. Like maybe the movie Cats would have midnight screenings and a cult following if it came out during the lockdown. Cats were a big part of the lockdown. Maybe The Fugitive wouldn't be so fun to quote if the sound had been mixed like a Christopher Nolan movie.
We better put it out the hole before the bomb goes off, eh?
It's basically the chaos theory of filmmaking. This all perfectly leads into my final point, which is, who f***ing knows, man? You can analyze endless hours of film, and you're not going to come to some unifying theory of good, bad movies. There are absolutely good, bad movies out there that cannot be explained away by earnestness or costumes or perfect timing. There's just a certain je ne sais quoi. What does that even mean? I don't know. The point is, sometimes all we can say is, there's just something about it. There's an unknowable, unnameable, magical quality that is saving it from the depths of being just another bad movie. And honestly, I'm okay with that. This world could use a little magic. I think there are definitely some good indicators here when trying to identify whether a movie's going to be bad, or good bad. Really? That's your only reference to The Room in a video about good bad movies? I don't know what else I can say that hasn't already been covered in interviews and in blogs and on podcasts and on YouTube essays and in a theatrically released quasi-biopic. I guess what I can say is that it is called the Citizen Kane of bad movies for a reason. It absolutely ticks all 4 of the boxes that we've just discussed. Earnestness? Yes, Tommy was absolutely earnest about making this movie. There are some interviews with him where he says that he was trying to make a comedy, but everyone on set has come forward and saying it was supposed to be a drama. So, nice try, Tommy. Speaking of, the standout character, the one thing to latch onto, Tommy freaking Wiseau. Yes, there's other weirdness there to appreciate.
I definitely have breast cancer.
I'm not trying to deny that, but the standout character is Tommy. Tommy's a star. Everything came together in a perfect way to make this movie work. Greg Sestero willing to talk about every aspect of making this film, the billboard that was up for 5 years, countless, endless midnight screenings, spoons, and yes, there's absolutely magic involved. I mean, Tommy and the story and the sex scenes, it's all enough to leave a really bad taste in your mouth. But somehow, magically, it all just works. This probably isn't a perfect system for trying to determine this kind of stuff. But hey, see if you can't take what you learned here today and try and spot the next cult classic in the theater. No! Absolutely not. We have discussed this. No Chris Pratt movies. Automatic DQ. What's wrong with you?